Hello everybody, my name is Greg Noblin, and this is a Photographic Encaustic how-to. I've received many emails concerning how to do a photographic encaustic, what my process is, how to get the best results or better results. So with this, I'll show you my standard way of doing things. First of all, you have to mount the photograph. It needs to be on some sort of substrate that's sturdy. To mount my images, I use a product by 3M. It's a repositionable mounting adhesive. It's sticky on one side of the paper. You put it down, you rub it hard, and then you peel the paper off, and all the adhesive is on the surface you wish to mount to. It's fully archival, no worries. So I just cut out a sheet that's appropriately sized for the image that I'm going to mount, and then cut the image out. This is all based on whatever you want to do. You can leave a border, it does not matter. I'm going to mount this to a piece of 4-ply archival mat board. It's just a piece of scrap that I had laying around, so it makes it a little easier for me to work with. I'm just going to mark it out and then score it with a razor blade and then cut the edges off. When determining which types of papers to use, I found the best results come from a semi-gloss, a luster, or a gloss type paper. Using heavy fiber-based papers like matte, any kind of high-end cotton-based fiber papers is not a good paper to use for the photographic encaustic process. It absorbs a lot of the wax and it seeks through and it looks like a greasy napkin almost, so it's not very conducive to getting results that you would like. That's most commonly the issue that I find with people sending me emails. They're using a type of paper that just absorbs so much of the wax and it doesn't yield results that make them happy. The trade-off is it's easier for wax to come off of a luster, semi-gloss, or glossy print. So that's one consideration that you need to take into account. It's also important when you're doing these, at least in this process, it's important to mount your photographs to some sort of rigid substrate. It makes it so much easier to work with. In this video, I'm just using a 4-ply archival scrap piece of mat board that I had. So here I'm just rubbing the adhesive onto the piece of mat board. I couldn't find my rubbing tool, so I had to use a hatchet that I found. Yes, a hatchet. And here I'm just putting the print onto the mat board with the adhesive. I didn't measure very accurately. That's not the purpose of this, is to show you how to do that. So here I have the wax. When applying the wax, make sure that your mixture of Damar resin and beeswax is heated to about 200 degrees. You can run into some issues when you're under that. Around 180 degrees, you can have some issues where the resin hasn't melted completely. So you want to make sure that you're operating around between 200 and 250 is what I found yields the best results. What I'm doing here is I'm putting the wax onto the print, just a big thick layer on. I'd like to rework the wax. I don't like so much buildup. I just want a super thin coating on the images that I'm working on to accentuate the textures and stuff that I have built into the actual digital file. When going and reworking the wax, I tilt it up at least at 45 degrees and I go back again with a brush. The best brushes that I found to work are really inexpensive nylon brushes. You can use cheaper horsehair brushes, but they fall apart, which can be neat. And I use horsehair brushes in some of my projects because I want the horsehair to come off and add to the texture of the image. But here, I just chose to use a nylon brush. They hold up better, they last longer. You don't have to take care of them as much. You can just remelt them on your hot plate or your griddle. And what I'm doing here is I'm removing all the excess wax that I do not want, which is a lot of it because I just want a sheen. So work this down, and with the heat gun, I have it set between 200 and 500. I think it's between 200 and 500. It's probably 500. When you're using the heat gun, it is very important to not keep it positioned in one place on the print. One of the trade-offs of having to use a semi-gloss, a luster, or a gloss photo paper is there is an increased risk of blistering the print with the heat gun. So you don't want to leave the heat gun positioned where it's blowing in the same location on the print itself for too long. It'll blister and you're starting over at that point. When the wax cools, you have essentially two options. You can leave it smooth and work it smooth and buff it out and make it really shiny, Or you can go back across it with the heat gun to remelt the wax again, and then using the same brush, go back through, work it over and over and over while it's slowly drying, and you can give a nice textured matte finish to it. And that's what I do with most of mine. And I like to go up and down, left and right to give almost a linen look to it in some places. So you just go back and forth as it dries. Now, when it's almost dry or getting close to drying, if you look on the bottom, you can see where you're getting these little balls. And that's because the wax is drying and I'm rubbing my brush too much. Here you can see cross section. A piece of the nylon brush came off in the wax there. You can see the texture that it adds. And there's that linen kind of pattern that you can see built up on top of the print. The idea is to create a physical texture that works well with the created textures that I use within my illustrations to give them a better look and feel, something that relates more to the image. Well, I hope this helped. Best of luck to you on your next photo encaustic project, and thanks for watching.